Hello and welcome. It's Charles Fockaert, March 19th, 2019. First day of spring tomorrow. I welcome all of you and I thank you for your support. This video is on, I do thank you for your support. I don't want to rush through that part, but I want to get to the point, which is the reason they want our guns is they know we're going to get violent. They know we're going to get violent. And why are we going to get violent? We're going to get violent because they won't let us vent. They won't even let us talk about the problems. We're being censored. I've been censored on my book on Lulu and Amazon.com, so I have personal experience with this. And I picked this up this morning because I was talking to a buddy about it, and I turned to a page and my eyes began to water as I read, and I had to put it down. And the very big part of this book, most of this book goes into great detail about how many, I was just one among many, that are abused, white males that are abused in the legal system, the judicial system, and we're just supposed to accept it. We're supposed to. I was accused of having a, quote, anger problem because I raised my voice one time when talking to my son because he was doing something wrong. So you can't even raise your voice anymore in protest about what's going on in your life, what's being done to you. They end up taking away everything that you worked hard for. And that's what they're doing now with YouTube. YouTube, I started YouTube and I thought, because, hey, I do a video, it takes me a couple hours maybe. At that time it was, and in fact, even today, it takes several hours to make a video. And I put the video up there, and it may only be 15 or 20 minutes long, but because it doesn't agree with community standards, they take away your ability to monetize that video. And it may only be a few cents a month, maybe not even that, a year, in my case, because then they keep people away from your channel, and you don't monetize the videos that you think are the most important ones because they don't like it. And so you can't they break their promise contract with these people, these Esau Edomites. It doesn't mean anything because they can cut you off, and then you lose 600 videos, but that may be several thousand hours, and you can't sue them because the whole system is rigged. You know, if you go in there on your own, like I've done many times, all the way to the Montana Supreme Court twice, California Federal Court Appeals, local courts, it's not that difficult. All you got to do is know how to read, and that's getting more rare, I guess, these days. And so you can't you can't afford or don't want to pay an attorney, and even if you got up there, um, they're not going to let you win. So what's the point? So the point I want to make, I got to the end of the book here, and I have a whole chapter on contemplating suicide. Contemplating suicide. And I haven't read this book since it was written. It's too painful. I can read a page or two, but I have to quit. But they drive you. They drive you to the point. They back you and back you up and back you up and back you up. And they don't listen. Nothing you say means anything. Doesn't matter. You're a white male and you're going to get the shaft. And we don't care. And don't get angry over it, because then if you do, you got an anger management problem, and we're going to take your children away from you, which they did anyway. So there's no, and the reason I left the States, I said, well, I'm not going to commit suicide. That's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I had options that a lot of other men didn't have, because they get to that point. There was a guy, and I can show you the picture here. He set himself on fire in front of the courthouse. The fellow here, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but he was in his 50s, I think, going through the big D with the wife, and he had children he couldn't see. I could relate. Here's where he set himself on fire. He poured gasoline over himself, and in front of the Cheshire County Courthouse. He was a contractor like I was, and he was going through a divorce. I knew exactly what he was going through, and he just got to the point where he committed suicide. See, and I wasn't going to do that, but I was contemplating um, other actions that I knew that I would later regret. So that's when I decided, instead of suicide and these other actions that I would regret, I don't know how those flies get in here. I got it all locked up, but I have no idea how they're getting in. You see that one? But hang on. Something I learned not too long ago, but it's an aside. Okay, hey, come on, bear with me. Just pretend you're sitting right across from here in the old mobile cabin. What's the difference between a newspaper and a fly swatter? Why is it so much easier to hit a fly with a fly swatter as opposed to the newspaper? And it's pretty simple, isn't it? The airflow. But it's amazing how many more flies I can eliminate. I know I'm a hater. I'm a hater of flies. I'm sorry. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Back to the point, and I can't remember the point. Let me think about it here. Oh, I decide I'm not gonna commit suicide. Then I decide, but I contemplated for quite a while doing these other actions, which would have adverse consequences on myself. And if you're not willing to do the time, don't do the crime. So my other option that I thought about was leaving the country. So I did. And for 13 years, I lived outside the United States because my country, my culture, my system, my American system drove me away because I did not want to commit violence. So I know what it's like to be driven to the point where you want to commit violence, because it's like no one in authority, no one that has control over you, no one who's having an adverse effect on your life and the life of your family. They're not allowing you to, they're not giving you justice, and they're not allowing you to complain and push back against it without being accused of having a, quote, anger problem. Well, you're GD right. Some of us are angry. You're not unspiritual. You're not, it's not a character flaw to get angry. It's a natural reaction to abuse and injustice. I'm looking up at, I want to thank my buddy Steve for the other screen I have here. So Ephesians 4:26, be ye angry and sin not. It doesn't say you can't be angry. It's just don't sin when you get angry. And then Titus, verse 7, for a bishop must be blameless as a steward of God, not self-willed, not soon angry. Oh, it takes a while for a leader. It takes quite a bit to get a leader angry. And that's one of the characteristics that you need. It doesn't say don't get angry. It says not soon, not easily angered. Okay, you got my point, Scripture's point. But they were being driven, the white race, especially the white males, because the white females are opposed. There's an adversarial situation with this no-fault divorce, which turns into his fault divorce. And so we're getting it from all sides, and we're not supposed to get angry. But they know the natural result, the natural reaction, the natural outcome, the inevitable outcome, the eventual outcome is going to be violence, especially with all of the factions, the different tribes. We need to start thinking about the tribe in a tribal sense, because that's what's going on. This are 12 tribes, the 12 Israelite tribes, and you have the Amera Indian tribes that were here, and I got into that in the last video about the tribes. So we have the 12 tribes, including the French, the Brits, a lot of the Germans came into the North America and Canada, etc. And Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Purchase from the tribe of Reuben, I believe, in France. See, the French. So the tribes from Israel migrated to the United States. There was peoples here already. There was a lot of conflict, and the American Indian people didn't have a quote anger problem. They had other tribes coming from across the ocean coming into what they considered their land, and we have the same thing happening today. We need to realize, oh, you're asking about the blacks. Well, the Esau Edomites controlled the slave ships, and they controlled that whole operation, Africa, Caribbean, United States, rum, all that. Okay, there's another tribe involved there, and the point of this video is not to go into that, but it was on my last video, and I'm working on an update, or I'm going to expand on that idea in a future video. So we got all these other tribes from all these other nations coming into our nation, which is no longer a nation now. We're like Yugoslavia. We're going to be broken up, folks. It's going to end up like Serbia and Bosnia and Yugoslavia, that whole thing. That's what's coming here. So that's why they don't want us to have weapons. So when we lose the First Amendment, where we get to speak out, we get to debate, we get to talk with others without getting angry, without resorting to violence, then you don't need the Second Amendment. But if the First Amendment's taken away, which is what's happening here in the United States now, then you're going to need the Second Amendment. And that's why they want to take away our weapons. So the point is, do not let them get your weapons. Be ready to use them when needed, because they're going to keep driving us and driving us and driving us. They're going to take away the means of earning an income, which is what they did with me. They're going to take everything you have in this collapse that's being set up. March 31st, gold is now a first tier asset. Banks are holding it now as an asset, unencumbered asset. That's important.
Do you think gold is money?
No.
They know they have to do something, because this print and print and print and create purchasing power out of thin air is over. I mean, the old system, so they're going to replace it with a new system that they hope they can do the same thing with, and we don't catch on. It really doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on here, folks. They're going to push us. They're not going to let us discuss. They're not going to let us express our opinion. They're not going to let us resolve conflict through logic and reasoning and debate and a diplomacy, and that's over because they're not allowing us now. As you know, the main monopoly is control. The internet monopoly giants control Facebook, Twitter, all the rest of them, YouTube included, all owned by Google. And so if we can't resolve problems, you can't do it in the court system, folks. I've tried that. You can't win in a courtroom. So what's left? What's left? The complaint was defective on its face. So according to the statute of limitation and Rule 8, it should have been thrown out of court. That would have reduced the amount of cases in the system. The problem for me and for many others who represent themselves is that judges make it crystal clear that we are not welcome in, quote, their courtrooms. And even though I eventually sought the advice of attorney in drafting my arguments, the judges rule against my sound legal arguments time after time. In short, the judges, including the Montana Supreme Court, are disobeying the law. Because Judge Newman disobeyed the law, I spent the next 3.5 years going through what you call a legal system. Because Judge Newman, Judge Kruger, and the Montana Supreme Court did not obey the law, I, like many others forced into the Montana legal system, paid a very high price mentally, emotionally, and financially. I was also denied my right to a trial by jury. This is not how our legal system is supposed to work. The Montana legal system is not a private club for the attorneys and the attorneys who become judges. The legal system is our legal system. If judges obey the law and treat everyone equally, representing oneself in a legal dispute does not require a law school education. In my second appeal, case number 15-0345, the Montana Supreme Court ignored its own remanded and mandated law of the case, ignored 3 of my 5 briefed issues, ignored the law, and affirmed the lower court's default judgment, an extreme measure by the court's own omission. Therefore, I have 3 questions to this commission. Question number 1. In the Montana legal system, why aren't self-representative individuals treated equally under the law? Question number 2. Why are we expected to obey the law, but the Montana judges, including Supreme Court judges, are not obeying the law? And number 3, since a Montana Supreme Court opinion is the final ruling in a case, where does one go when the Montana Supreme Court itself does not obey the law? And I'm okay with questions. All right, thank you. You're welcome. And number 3, since a Montana Supreme Court opinion is the final ruling in a case, where does one go when the Montana Supreme Court itself does not obey the law? And one more time, that's why they want to take away our weapons. They're trying to take away our free speech now, but their end result, their end goal is we cannot defend ourselves from what they have planned for us. I want to thank you for watching, and I thank you for your support of this channel. And may the grace of God, our Father, the God who made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, no other peoples of the world, he's a kinsman redeemer. May that God, Yahweh, may his grace be upon us all, for we most certainly need it. See you.